Do you know how and where to invest your money? Seems like a silly question in some ways, but I'm going to go into a bunch of different ways of what you should do and how to invest and the questions you should be asking yourself when you look to invest for yourself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Adam Kahn, and I'm the Rational Investor. Before I forget anything else, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe. If you want to make some comments, I'm happy to talk back and forth. I do my best to answer everybody. At least right now, I have a small enough following, which I super appreciate anybody who watches these videos. So I do take the time to answer. I never get offended by anything. I like to argue, so don't take it any way. I'm just having a conversation, but I do want people to get involved. I hope the information I share is interesting and you find some value in it. And the way the algorithm works for YouTube and Google is if you're liking and subscribing, it gets shared with other people because they see the engagement. So that's why I ask. And if you could help me out, I'd really appreciate it. So the first question you should be asking yourself is what's the goal of the money? Now I know the goal of the money is to make more money, right? I get it. I do. But you have to be honest with yourself about a couple of things. What kind of risk tolerance are you okay with? And are you okay if that money gets lost or are you not? If you're not comfortable with losing the money or putting it at risk, there are investments that still get decent return that don't risk the money you're putting up. But if you're comfortable with higher risk, you could get higher returns. You just might lose the money as well, and the ups and downs are going to be more significant. So that's why I say the first question has to be what's the goal of the money? Now, I'm going to make my little asterisk warning of I'm not a financial planner. You guys shouldn't listen to me. I'm just some idiot talking on YouTube sharing my experiences. You need to make your own decisions, like really you do, and decide what's best for you. And I would say that with any financial decisions, I wouldn't trust your financial planner, your realtor, your this, your that, your other, unless it's like your sibling and they really know what they're doing, or your mom or your dad or the people who are close to you. You really have to do your own research for what it is that you're looking at. And I would stay with the things you're comfortable in. There's so many places to make money and there's so many investments out there that there's more than any one person could learn about. For whatever reason, ever since I was a little kid, I mean, I have memories back when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. I always found this stuff interesting. And even when I was younger, I was collecting baseball cards because I thought you could make money with them. And you can, which is kind of my point. You can make money with almost anything that becomes an investment. Now, once you make that decision of what the goal of the money is when you can have the first steps in deciding where to invest it. So let's say, for example, you are too uncomfortable with risking any of your money. So you tend to leave it in a savings account or a checking account or things of that nature. If you don't need the money in the next 3 months, you could buy something like a CD or a treasury bill, which is going to yield in today's dollars, you're going to get 5% or so if you find the right banks to put them in, or the right treasuries for that matter. And that goes out for the next year to, I think even the 3 year CDs should be paying that. So you'll do much better than you'd get in a savings or in a checking account or something like that that's getting pretty much no return. Now you might look for a high yield savings account, which some of the banks are offering, but still okay in a CD, and you're not taking much risk on the investment. That's pretty much as zero risk as you can get. It's pretty much guaranteed. Now, I would keep it under the $250,000 FDIC limit, um, or spread it into a few different banks if you have more than that. But that's a good way to get some return if you're totally averse to all risk. There's also some things that are a little bit in between. Now, let's say you don't mind some risk, but you don't want a ton of risk. Well, I try to look for stocks that have decent dividends, but are big conglomerate or big companies in their space. For example, Pfizer right now has had a really rough run. The stock's dropped, I think, in half, trading like low 30s, pays close to a 5% dividend. Me personally, I'm comfortable with Pfizer. I'm not too concerned they're going out of business. You have to keep in mind that if things slow down more, they may get in a position where they have to lower the dividend because they're not guaranteed. But for a little bit more risk in my mind, I don't mind owning a company like Pfizer that's paying a 5% dividend in the hopes that maybe they don't stay out of favor and the stock can drift higher. And maybe I get some better return from getting my 5% dividend and the potential that the stock goes up. Keep in mind, stock could go lower, which is why I say it has more risk. You are at the risk of the market versus the CD that doesn't really go up and down. Not it, it sort of does, and you can't take the money out early, but it really doesn't. And you should be pretty much guaranteed your 5% return. Whereas with Pfizer, you're going to have the risk that the company doesn't make as much. They could cut that dividend down, and maybe the stock goes lower as well. Now, there's all sorts of different levels along the way in the stock market, which is why I like the stock market so much. And you can get dividends from a zillion different companies. And I think I did a video that showed 20 companies that give some dividends, and I did another one that talks about 10 or 11 companies that give around a 10 or 11% return for dividends. Keep in mind the ones that are giving 10, 11%, they are taking on some underlying risk to be able to give that higher return. Again, one more step up in what the goal of the money is. Now, if you're comfortable with more risk, you can look at the companies like Tesla and Nvidia and things like that that are going to have bigger ups and downs and bigger swings, and they're not going to pay a dividend. But the potential is they grow at a faster rate, and you hope that that stock outperforms the dividends and the growth of those dividend companies, and you might make more money in companies like that that are growing at a faster rate. Again, you're taking more risk in those companies because if they slow down, the stocks are going to fall, and they're going to fall quicker than other things because the expected growth of the companies is part of the reason for the price of those stocks. So again, risk, reward, goal of your investment, goal of the money. You have to make that decision before you make the investment. You can also look at things like collectibles if you know it, or art, or baseball cards, or whatever it is. But my suggestion with anything like that is really know the market that you're looking at. Now, if you work in a certain field and you know that this thing, whatever that is, goes up in value year after year after year, by all means, that's why I say invest in what you know in. It doesn't have to be the things that the world invests in for you to be able to pick it and decide that's a good investment. If you want to look at real estate's a good investment in my opinion as well. Even with interest rates where they are, keep in mind maybe it falls, the Fed is trying to slow it down, and they might even be trying to pop a small bubble and cause it to go lower. I wouldn't bite off more than I could chew on anything, but it's still all along the lines of what fits you and what you want to do with that money. So, again, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, chime in. I'm happy to go more in detail about that. I'm happy to go over a bunch of stocks or things that I think are great investments. I watch the markets all the time and I love what I do. So, have a great Sunday and talk to you guys soon.